All right, welcome to a Friday morning edition of the Solution Breakdown. My name is Mark Baker. Let's get into it. Uh, I, I, it would not surprise me uh, if I would have it came into this Friday morning and I would have said uh, the Chargers would win. The Chargers would win, kind of going away. Um, but I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. Uh, that was impressive. Um, and I think as I was as I was watching that game, um, just something came to me, which was that, you know what, like the NFL is a league of attrition, is a league of guys are going to go down. It's do you have the foundation? Do you have that do you have that solidified framework to be able to say, you know what, like on any given day, hey, if we have Justin Herbert, we've got a shot. Derwin James can go out. Joe Alt can be out for a couple of weeks. But do you have that solid foundation? I think we're looking at two franchises here that one one has that one has that, and the other, I mean, I would say it would be, an all-time coaching job to get to 9 wins if you're a Minnesota team. Let's not forget they gave up Sam Darnold. And listen, I was wrong. I did not think he would have the level of production in Seattle as he did in Minnesota. But how the tables have flipped, because now we're looking at Minnesota being like JJ McCarthy has missed 22 of 24 games. Has missed essentially over 90% of his starts. It's insane. And you look at what Sam Darnold, I mean, I would say, it wouldn't surprise me, and I necessarily don't wouldn't disagree with it now if you would say that Seattle could be a contender to come out of the NFC. It's but if you really look at it, um, it was a bit reactionary. He had that he Sam Darnold had that game against the Lions. They lost that wild card game on the road, technically in Arizona. They were the favorites. And I think they kind of just reacted in terms of, well, it didn't really end well. And I remember sitting there being like, it didn't end well, but I don't know. Like, do you really have something in JJ McCarthy? And listen, I'm one of those. Kevin O'Connell's a great coach. He'll be able to make anybody work. But I'm not really sure with JJ McCarthy. You're certainly not winning with Carson Wentz, and you're certainly not. You know, I mean, right now, I mean, it doesn't look like JJ McCarthy can stay healthy. And I was watching something this early this morning. It's like, if they could have a do-over, would they take it? I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the reality is in the NFL, we always talk about how, oh, you can win in that little window when you're not paying the quarterback and you can afford talent. But I think what we watch with a lot of teams is, if you have that guy, you can't rely on just the depth of your roster to get you by, the talent that you have on the roster. The Chargers have an enormously talented roster, yet they had a couple guys go out last night. I mean, they're going with I forget if he's a 5th round or 6th round pick from Troy, Vidal, and he's been awesome. I mean, the NFL is, it's the next guy up, you know? And the reality is with most guys, the NFL becomes a kind of a not for long type of thing. It's a war of attrition. But the only reason the Chargers really have a shot because of Justin Herbert. Anything can happen. And if you're Minnesota today, you're really having a hard time. I that's a tough situation to be in. It's a really tough situation to be in. Because, oh, great, you're going to the Lions next weekend. Yeah, I mean, I'll take the Lions in that game. Then you're 3-5. And as you're watching Seattle possibly win the division, at the very least, a playoff spot, a fifth seed. Man, how it can change pretty quickly. And I bet that they would want a redo. But I saw something earlier, which is the NBA has started back up again. Um, of course, the NBA has a little bit more parity, but from the longest time that I can remember, it was uh, Golden State was the runaway favorite. It was going to be Cavs. It was going to be Cavs Warriors. When I was a teenager, it was the Miami Heat were the favorite. That's not necessarily the case. It's particularly so in the AFC, and it's even the case with the NFC. The Eagles are not that team that they were last year, and they went in as the heavy favorites, and it's very clear they're not that team. Now, I still think it's wise if someone would tell me that, hey, they're still the favorites to come out of the NFC. But I make the point is that listen, like the Rams were a play away from beating the Eagles in that snow game, like a play away from stealing that game. I'm not going to sit around and be like, well, anything can happen. But yeah, we've seen wilder things. Sometimes it's just don't outsmart the room. And you see guys like this, they try to outsmart the room, trying to project. Because essentially Sam Darnold, outside of throwing 35 touchdowns, had what, two bad games at the end of the year? Well, let's not forget the one game was that coaching clinic again to win the title, to win the NFC North for the Lions. I mean, that's essentially what got Aaron Glenn a coaching job. And again, that game against LA, I mean, that was a very weird game. Very weird. There was definitely a sentimentalism to that game. You had the fires around the LA area. It was it, that was just a weird, you know, I, you would have had a hard time if you're the Vikings to go into Arizona. The Rams are fired up. Their community is their community is it's like in 2001 when Arizona went to when the Diamondbacks played in the World Series against the Yankees. Well, when President Bush at the time threw out the first pitch, I mean, it's one of those situations where, uh, uh, good luck, good luck. Um, as professional athletes, you don't need more bulletin board material, but my point is, it can. My point is that things can get a little bit reactionary at times, but the nature of the NFL is that you just don't know. I mean, myself included, I thought that the Eagles' antics was going to catch up to them last year, and yet they rattled off like 14 of the last 15 games, going on to win the Super Bowl. While we all sat around and been like, I just don't know. Quarterbacks throwing for under 150 yards for how many consecutive weeks? Um, you have the coach yelling at other coaches at the sideline, coach yelling at the fans. But again, they went on to win the Super Bowl. The Chiefs a couple of years ago lost to the Raiders at home. At the end of the day, you don't need to outsmart the room. Even the Chargers, there were go get another tackle, go get another running back. I mean, it seems like after tonight, they seem like they'll be able to ride the ship. They'll get Amari and Hampton back. Vidal has looked like. I mean, here's the thing with guys like Vidal, and I really think that tonight, like last night I was watching that game, and uh, obviously it's just like, hey, a shorter 5'8" running back. It definitely doesn't have the build of an NFL back. Maybe if he was, I saw some as like maybe if he was 4 inches taller, he'd be starting at Georgia or Alabama. Yet he came out of Troy. And I think we see kind of the almost even the mystery of the NFL. Because I think there were a time with Drew Brees and there was Russell Wilson at the time. We would say things like, you know what, like height doesn't matter as a quarterback. Well, it sort of does. I mean, Tua, for example, I mean, has come out and said, like, I don't even know where I'm throwing to sometimes. And you can clearly see on film that some of these guys, maybe 6 foot or under, have a hard time seeing over the line. It does affect. Now, what we're seeing is that, like, listen, like, some positions, it's like, hey, I mean, Al Davis did this. Hey, I want the fast guy. Sometimes we look for the prototypical, like, Ashton Genty type of back. And you know what? Like, who knows? Maybe the guy's 5'11", a little bit more stockier, same skill set. Maybe he goes in the second round. But then you're seeing on the other end of it is that you've got a 6'5" quarterback. Not only can sling it. I don't like this term, but high character guy. You don't see him get up and yelling. I mean, he's composed. A composed tactician at the line. Oh yeah, he's 6'5" and can move well. And if he gets a little bit of protection, like he had with Joe Alt, I mean, yeah, at halftime they were talking about how many, like it was Greenard, um, Grenard, I think. Sorry, 16 pressures against Joe Alt, 16 rushes and 1 pressure. I mean, that's the difference of a left tackle. I mean, the Chargers have a lot of holes. I mean, you saw that first play, that pick six that was not a pick six. That was, it's. I also got to feel bad for the Vikings because like 2 past weeks, it was what is a catch? What's the process of the catch? Did he complete the process in 2 weeks? The Vikings have gotten a touchdown and a pick six taken away from them. Man, I wouldn't want to be a Vikings fan. And so, like, even when Herbert just simply has his left tackle, I mean, the rest of the offensive line is a mess. And there were times he was running around for his life. But he's 6'5", can throw from the pocket, and yet you saw he's scrambling tonight. I mean, I'm not going to go and suggest that the Chargers are going to go on and win the Super Bowl. And I mean, likely Kansas City will win that division at this point. Uh, but let's face it here. I mean, you have a chance week to week with Justin Herbert. That game against Miami, in any Chargers fan will tell you that Miami game was a loss. It was a loss. In any former Chargers era, that's a loss, especially in the last 15 to 20 years. That's a loss. But that's what happens when you eat it and you just pay it and you just pay them. That's what happens. Yeah, you might not be able to pay everybody. But honestly, if you pay everybody, well, guys go down. You're not going to 100% stay healthy all the time. I mean, look at the 49ers. Look at what the Niners are doing. 5-2. And honestly, do we expect Brock Purdy to even play 7 games this year? I don't know. If you would tell me he started about 6 games, I don't know if I would be surprised by that. And that's the thing. The Chargers have that foundation. And it starts with Herbert, it starts with Harbaugh. But I don't think we would be talking about Jim Harbaugh's success if it wasn't for Justin Herbert. We can talk about how, wow, what a wizard. Tall Sean McVay with Kevin O'Connell. I mean, it doesn't look good at all. It's very clear that if they could have a do-over, they would do it. They would do it instantaneously. It doesn't matter how great Addison and Justin Jefferson are. If you don't have guys that can get them the ball, then what are we doing? And what you have the Lions and the Packers in your division, and let's not even focus on this year, because this year doesn't really. Okay, they're 3-4. The Lions. It's going to be between the Lions and the Packers, unless unexpectedly JJ McCarthy gets healthy and emerges. It's going to be the Lions and the Packers. But let's not even talk about this year. Let's talk about 10 years down the road. Dan Campbell's not going anywhere. Jared Goff, he probably has another 10 years left if I would say. Jordan Love's going to be there for probably will be in Green Bay for over a decade, knowing how that organization operates. It took him a while to be done with Rodgers. I don't think they'll move off. They would move off Jordan Love super quickly. So you're gonna have those two guys in the division. Oh, and also on the other hand, is that a little bit south, Oh, you have the Bears and you have Ben Johnson. I'm not even going to throw Caleb Williams in there. I don't know. I mean, this may be the decision that at least ruins Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. I'm not about to say that if he was to I'm not trying to say he's a bad coach. But I think this situation, it's hard to come back from this because the guy you moved off of Darnold for can't even stay healthy. I mean, it's one thing to miss 50% of your starts, but it's another thing to miss 90. It's another thing to just miss 90% of your starts. And so I don't know how you salvage this thing in Minnesota. I just don't. Because the reality is you're gonna be faced with the Lions, who I mean, unlike some teams in the NFL, they're not necessarily coordinator dependent. It seems like it seems like a lot of that operation is not coordinator specific, but it's very Dan Campbell and Jared Goff specific. As long as those two are, as long as Jared Goff is healthy, and as long as you have a Dan Campbell coach team, I 100% trust that the Lions for at least the next 5 years will be a sustainable playoff team. Maybe we'll go on to win a Super Bowl. And the Packers, I mean, the Packers have shown for the past 30 years that they've been a stable organization that hell have gone from Favre, Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. So this isn't my, Kevin O'Connell can't coach. I think he can. Let's see in the next couple of years. Who knows? Maybe maybe this is an odd scenario, but maybe in a couple of years, Sean McVay retires. Listen, he's got the perfect personality for TV. I mean, I'm kind of sitting there waiting for the day Sean McVay retires because he's perfect as a color analyst. Kevin O'Connell goes and coaches the Rams. Rams are much more of a hey, we'll spend it, we'll take the big risk, we'll move all the guys maybe a little bit early. But I'm it would be a hell of a coaching job if they can find their way to 9 wins. But in that division, good luck because you got two teams that are at the top and one that seems to be getting better. I mean, hell, we might see the Bears win 9 games. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll win 10 games. And where does that put the Vikings? At the end of the day, it's sometimes swing big and pay the guy. This isn't about you get the guy that can. Well, the guy deserves to be paid. It's not that our type of argument, but it's more of based off of last year. Let's see what this guy can do. Let's see if this guy can lead that really can take us to the next level. And if he can't, we were wrong. But now you're watching another team with your guy last year. I mean, they look awesome, and I was wrong on Seattle. So Yeah, yeah. I think if you're Minnesota, I think you're. I don't know how this is going to get any better. Um, and because you're not going to be drafting, you're going to draft probably in the middle. And this is a better quarterback draft class later this year. Well, next year, but it's not significantly. It's not, it's no 2020, it's no 2012. So if you're going to draft at 15, and I don't know, because what you got JJ McCarthy at 11. I mean, how many of JJ McCarthy's are out there? High potential guys that right now, second year, we're getting closer to Thanksgiving. The guy can't stay healthy. It's not that he can't play, but I mean, it's just not. It's like you can't invest in a long future with a guy like that. So, yeah, yeah, I guess good luck, Minnesota. I guess. All right. A couple more things before we get out of here. One, there's a big matchup going on between Cowboys and the Broncos. Um, I mean, one year is not going to change the reputation of Jerry Jones, and nor should it, and nor should it. But it was wise for them to get rid of Micah Parsons. Before everyone, not when you trade away a star player, it's like, oh, you idiot. Oh, that was stupid. What did you didn't get anything in return. You're giving the Packers a gift. And listen, I think it's both worked out for both parties. It has worked out for both parties. And you know what else has worked out? George Pickens. That has been that is awesome. That has been him and CD. I mean, let's look at the NFL today. I mean, like what hit what like I mean, the week 7 all had the same theme. I mean, it started last week with with our take last week with Joe Flacco and the Bengals. When you have Jamar Chase and T Higgins, you better get those guys the ball. And let's look at the Eagles too. The Eagles can't run the ball for shit. Cam Jurgens is injured. They've always had issue at the right guard position. Their left guard is hurt. Uh, like, well, what's up? What the hell's up with Saquon? Yeah, I mean, last week when you've got an AJ Brown, when you've got a Devontae Smith, you get those guys the ball. You get those guys the ball. What are we seeing with Dallas? It's the same, virtually the same thing. You've got a chance with those two guys out there. I mean, like, it's no surprise that the teams arguably with the best wide receiver tandem, they went out and they balled. You want to know why? Because last night watching the Charger game, seeing Derwin James go down and seeing a couple other guys in the secondary go down, especially with defensive guys. Defense, offensive line. Yeah, you're going to see a bevy of injuries, especially with defensive guys. Let's look at even Washington. Washington is old, brittle. Yet, yet if you're able to have a Devontae Smith, you're able to have an AJ Brown. You've got to bring a guy in you got to bring in your fifth round rookie. Oh, he's got to guard AJ Brown, or you got a safety against AJ Brown. Oh, good luck all day. Why a wide receiver is not a. I mean, listen, you're getting hit out there, but CD had to miss a couple of games. Uh, but I mean, hell, are the issue with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, as slender as a guy as he is. Whew, I mean, those guys stay healthy. Those guys stay on the field, and if you can have guys that can stay on the field, and the other team can't, well, it just creates matchup problems all over the place. So going into this matchup with the Broncos, not necessarily the case. Moss and Sertan are two stout corners, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, last week that was a good win by the Broncos. But the past couple of weeks with the past even 3 weeks with Bo Nix is that you just don't really know what you're going to get on a quarter to quarter basis. And partially that's on him. Partially it's on a little bit what we saw from the Giants game last week. That okay, um, okay, you know when you allowed Bo Nix to scramble, he's definitely an athlete. He's fast. Sometimes you can overcoach a guy and sometimes just let him do his thing. It worked. But quarter after quarter, you don't know what you're going to get from Bo Nix. Do I like the Cowboys? No. But would it surprise me if they went into Denver and they pulled off the win? It wouldn't surprise me. And if I'm even in the NFC East, I mean, listen, a week ago we were talking about Pittsburgh winning the division in early December. Phew. And now it's uh-oh. They're playing Green Bay. And I like Green Bay in that matchup against Pittsburgh. And if Cincinnati, they've got the Jets. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, that division can look a little bit more messier. But with, it would be easy to say, listen, if the Eagles go on and they win and they're 6-2, and the Cowboys lose and they're 3-4, yeah, I would say I more or less like Philly. Let's say Dallas wins, they're 4-3, and the Eagles still win, they're 6-2. I'm a little bit worried. You can say, well, the defense is bad. Yeah, but Cincinnati won 5 out of the last 6 to finish 9-8. Defense played a little bit, uh, uh, slightly better. I mean, the reality is with defense is, there are defensive guys, as particularly, there's going to be injuries. especially if you're paying the quarterback, you're going to have guys, especially in the secondary, that are young, they're green, inexperienced. I mean, the Chargers have shown it. We saw the Chargers last night. I mean, two of their starting corners were fourth and fifth round picks from the year before. So let's not pretend that at the end of the day, there's very few teams that have good corners. There are plenty of teams that struggle with the linebacker position, but I wouldn't count Dallas out, especially how they played. Yes, Washington has their own set of issues, but don't be surprised if the Cowboys walk out of that game in Denver and they're 4-3. Don't be surprised. Um, just a few other things. Yeah, I like the Eagles against the Giants. I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say the Giants are in collapse mode. Listen, that game, if anything, showed you that Jackson Dart can play. Um, we all like to talk about, oh well, who's to blame for all this? Who's to blame? And listen, I get it. That's all we all want to do. But listen, I think the Giants' future is optimistic. I do like Philly. I think they look like they found something in the passing game. Um, if they can even do about three-fourths of what they did last week, I still like the Eagles. Um, and yep, RIP to the Jets. They're not getting their first win this week. Not this week. It'll come. It'll come eventually. Uh, but that's a whole nother topic. Um, but it's been a good show. I thank you everyone for tuning in. Uh, enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy some college football tomorrow. Have a great weekend. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Subscribe to the Hardcore Sports Network. I'll be back. Thank you very much.